What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and today we got a super special episode with the legend D20 Woodworking. He is one of the greatest Marvel Champions content creators, in my opinion. D20, can you give a bit of an introduction and just tell them who you are?
Yeah, well, I appreciate those kind words, dude. So thank you very much. Like you said, D20 Woodworking. I do content creation on YouTube, either just videos or I do live streaming over on Twitch and YouTube as well, where it probably is about what 80% of the time Marvel Champions, 20% of the time other stuff. But yeah, so anything you need, if it's gameplay videos or me just talking and stirring the pot and having super hot takes, I'm 100% for that too, or just doing reviews and previews and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have everything on your channel, and I think that probably everyone that follows me also knows who you are. But if they don't, for any reason, I'm gonna put the links in the description, like to your Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff. Um,
I hope that all your subs have no idea who I am. So that this way it's a brand new audience and they're all like, oh, who's this annoying D20 guy? Let's run over there and go hang out with him. So I'm going to steal your audience if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love for that to be the case because I wanna, I wanna return the favor because I mean, I said this a few times, but it was like a while back, like I think I had like, I don't know, 200, 300 subscribers, and then like no one knew who I was, like in terms of like the other Marvel Champions content creators, and then it was like one of your, I think you're one of your live streams, you like shouted me out, you just like went to my channel, and you're like, this guy's channel is really cool, and you just looked at a few videos, and then like that day, like I got like 50 subscribers, and like it was just like popping off. I was like, what is going on? And I didn't even know that that was happening. Yeah, and then yeah, I'm still very thankful to that. So if I know that my subscribers are yours, but if for any reason it somehow like flipped, I don't know how, then yes, guys, please go subscribe to a D20.
Fair enough.
So for Marvel Champions, one of the things that I love to do, like going to your channel for, is just learning about everything around the game as well. And you talk a lot about like the landscape of the game. Like for example, I used to not know the developers of Marvel Champions, like Fantasy Flight Games, and your channel has so much information like on your streams and stuff. You always talk about like, oh, okay, this is what Michael Boggs like. This is the way that he would like to design. Caleb Grace, who's also leaving too, and then like Tony, like you know so much about this stuff, and I know that you're like a journalism like person, right? For your regular work. Tell me about like, do you enjoy that aspect of Marvel Champions, like not just the game itself, but like learning about everything around it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So a big part of it for me is, I'll see like a hero like Valkyrie or whomever, or Scarlet Witch. Let's take Scarlet Witch, a little less controversial. So Scarlet Witch, I really like the hero, right? It's my favorite hero of all time. And a lot of people will say in stream, like, well, why? Like, why do you like the hero? And a lot of times, I don't know about you, it's like, well, I don't know, she's cool, right? She work cool. I like the mechanics, but maybe there's more to it. And then you go, well, I also like XYZ thing as well, whatever other heroes. And then you go, well, what patterns happen between those two, right? Like, is it designed by the same person? Is it not designed by the same person? Was it designed the same round of boxes? Was the test players the same or different on it? So all that's, and spoiler, most of the test players are about the same. So, but it's those things I go, okay, let me take a look at, and then I look and see, Caleb Grace's name is on it. Okay, cool. Well, I know Caleb's name is on a lot of stuff from Lord of the Rings. So is it on the same stuff that I really enjoy there? And for the most part, it is because they did like the vast majority of the stuff. So I slowly get to the point where, oh, I must really like his designs. And then obviously it's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. So for me, a big part of it was, well, let me pay attention to that part of it because maybe that will help unlock the rest of the reasons why I like certain designs or don't like certain designs. Or maybe going into it goes, we could take Tony for example because he's for me kind of like a big hit or miss guy, right? Like he is swinging for home runs with his design for me. Sometimes it connects and it's amazing, and sometimes it just misses for me. So I know going into a Tony design, it's like okay, I have to be very open minded about this. That like it could go either way, but maybe it's the best thing I ever played, but maybe it's not. Versus Caleb, it's like I kind of knew what I was getting into, so it kind of helped me prepare and kind of get in that mindset as well.
That is very interesting. It's very cool that that's kind of where your mind goes.
Mhm.
For me personally, I mean, I don't know. I have no clue which designer that I like. I know I like Caleb because recently there's like a meme about like the Magneto's cape where like he likes
Mm.
to make a cape which readies up a hero. And I'm
Uh,
like yeah, yeah. And then for like Doctor Strange's cape and like any cape that readies, I'm like, well that's my favorite card. I love when they have that ready. So I know I like Caleb's design, but other than that, like that big meme going around the community, I don't really know anything about like who I will like. Like I can't tell you if I like Tony's design more or Caleb's more
mm.
or Michael Boggs like back in the day whenever he was a big designer for Marvel Champions. So it's crazy that you know like what you're looking for, I guess, and that your mind went to look that up. Who do you think? I think I've heard you say a few times on the stream that Caleb is probably your favorite designer. Do you think he still is?
Yeah, Caleb for me. Okay, so fun fact about D20 is I love baseball. Right, I'm a huge baseball fan, and one of the things about baseball is that everyone loves the home run ball, but smart baseball is just playing it safe and getting base hits, right? And that's the smart way to play. And that's kind of how I look at designers as well, where Caleb for me is hitting singles and doubles every single time. And maybe it's not flashy, right? Maybe it's not like the coolest thing you've ever seen, but for me, it's I know it works and I know it's successful. And some people may say, well, it gets kind of boring and stale because kind of what you said, well, he's going to make a cape and it's going to ready up probably, right? And I get that. I get that argument. But for me, I enjoy having a designer who always makes good things. Now, does that to take away from like Tony or Michael or anyone else? Absolutely not, because I think they're important to the game. But if you know, let's say Caleb's my favorite, probably then Michael Boggs after the fact, and then Tony. But I see that one of the new ones is Aaron. I think his name is. I gotta learn the two new guys. I think it's Aaron, and he did Valkyrie, so I gotta like start reevaluating things and see if it fits in there anyway.
Yeah, I remember I've heard you say a few times that Aaron like helped design Valkyrie and like Rocket Raccoon, who are heroes that you like their mechanics for. So.
Mm. Yeah, so in the future, it'll be interesting to see how that changes. Especially, we're all habits of whatever's the newest, shiniest thing. That's what we kind of focus on. So as Caleb's design, like assuming the next one is Fantastic Four, if whatever his next one is, uh, it will be interesting to see that after those cycles, if I start going, oh yeah, Caleb wasn't that great or something, because it's just like not front of mind anymore. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't tell you who my favorite designers are, but I know I also like that very like simple type of like just they can kind of do everything like, like a Spider-Man type of kit. And I think that Caleb and Michael Boggs were both like very heavily involved in the core set. So I like those original heroes a lot. The new heroes, I think I would agree with you. I feel like they're I've always said this that they're very streamlined. And for
Mm,
me, like some are like big hits like Cable and Cyclops. And then some I don't like so much. I know you like Domino a lot. I'm a big Domino hater, so
That's fine. I feel like you and I have a lot of not similar interests on things, which is really fascinating. Which I think is actually part of the reason why I enjoy watching you so much. Because like if I just watch content creators that agreed with everything I said, that's boring because I know what I think. But like with you, you play like Cable. I think is a perfect example. I cannot for the life of me get Cable to work. I can't do it. I'm just not a good enough player to do it. And then I watch you, and it's funny because I remember in the beginning, everyone's like, oh, yeah, Cable's like C tier, whatever. And then you absolutely crushed with them. And everyone's like, well, wait a minute. Is he S tier now? Maybe. Because I just saw another power ranking where somebody else ranked him S tier. And I'm like, that's crazy, dude. That's your influence alone on that, man.
I don't know if it's my influence. I know that whenever I first said that, everyone's like, "Dude, you're clickbaiting. Like this is just not a thing." So I got so much pushback. I remember even Villain Theory commented. He was like, "Hey man, I see you getting so much hate. I see you getting blasted everywhere. I just want to say, like I think your opinion is valuable. I respect it." And he was just very kind to me on that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what happened because I remember getting like a lot of backlash on it. But yeah, I mean, Cable. I really like Cable as a hero, and I think he's very strong. And if more people, come around that would be really cool. Cause I think that Doctor Strange is very overrated as a hero. I
Mhm.
don't really want to get into that right here, but I did want to comment something that you said. You said that you're not good at playing Marvel Champions. I actually think D20 Woodworking is the most underrated Marvel Champions player in terms of like skill. And
Mm,
I think I've heard you say this like a few times that you feel like you're like the entertainer of like the Marvel Champs community. Oh, like you draw Shadow of the Past, like all this stuff. I think that people really undervalue like how good you are as a player. and I have specific examples that that I can
Of
point
course you
to.
do.
Okay, so we played a game against Venom Goblin. I think it was one of our first games that we played together, and it was Expert Venom Goblin. So very, very tough game. And you're playing Miles Morales, and I was playing Peter Parker Spider-Man. And in that game, I truly believe we were going to win, like multiplayer expert mode, and which is a really tough villain. I think Venom Goblin is the most difficult villain to face on expert mode for higher player counts. And
Agreed.
the only reason we lost was because of me. Because like if people watched that game, they could have seen you. You were like, I know you don't like building out, but against that type of villain, like we kind of had to. And
Yeah.
you were doing everything perfectly. Like we were like, in synergy. And then there's a moment in the game where I was like, well, it was probably a little bit influenced just because like we were alive. But I was like, yo, let's like push. And we didn't calculate our damage. And I was like, let's just push it.
Mm.
And then we pushed it and we were short like 5, 8 damage, something like that. So we just barely were short. But if I just waited one more turn, whenever like we didn't have attack events in our hand, I chose not to because I was like, man, I want to get the stream hype. Let's do this. So I was a little bit influenced by that. But yeah, I mean that game right there. I mean, and just watching your gameplays too. I think you're underrated, man. I think people just see you as like I don't know. So everyone that's watching this, guys, D20 is really good at Marvel Champions. Like, do not. Yeah, I don't know.
I appreciate the kind words, dude. It's funny too because I think we all do this to a point, even as players slash content creators. But I think we go like we're just not good at this game. But I think inherently we kind of all are to a point because we play hundreds of games. Like you're eventually going to get good at anything you do hundreds of times over and over. So yeah, I know it's kind of like a meme at this point that I'm not that great at the game, but I guess compared to some, I'm all right.
Yeah, I played like based on what building on what you're saying, I played so many games with other people where they are like controlling the board and the board state and the villain stuff like flipping encounter cards. And I think it's so undervalued. I think you do this even better than me. Like you are really good at just being calm and then controlling and flipping the cards and like not missing things. Because the amount of times I'll miss like a guard minion or a patrol minion and then like you see it in my videos all the time and I'll have to take it back. I'll be like, oh guys, crap, sorry, like I missed this Garmin the entire time. The whole turn was invalid. I'll just take back all the damage I did to the villain or something like that. Like you're so good at doing that, and there's other people that I think that maybe don't record their games and they may
Mhm.
criticize you. And it's like, dude, if you record your games, like you would see that there's so many mistakes because I know that when
Yeah,
I first started recording, there's so many mistakes there. And D20
agreed.
does not make that many mistakes. And yeah, I feel like that whenever I play like a multiplayer game like with friends, we'll win the game and then we'll be like, yes, we won, but I know that we for sure made mistakes somewhere. And whenever you play online, all those mistakes are caught. And yeah, I
Mhm.
think you do a really good job of controlling the board state too, especially when we do like higher player counts, like with you, me, and Daring Lime. That was tough. Like 3 players, it was like super messy, and you're like doing all that stuff. I could not do all that stuff. I would be like, all right, guys, I don't want to do this anymore. Like this, let's stop.
It's I will say for anyone that's having that issue or anyone that thinks they're not having that issue, I agree. Record your gameplay and watch it after the fact. It will be one of the best things you've ever done as a player because not even for catching mistakes, I mean that for two, but also just to see moves. Like in the future what it's going to be. So to see moves and be like, I really should have thought about this direction of doing things or doing this instead. Ever since I started recording gameplay, that's helped me as a player because I'll go back and watch it as I'm editing the video, and I go, "Wow, that was a really like poor move right there. I really shouldn't have done that, or I should have done that." So that'll help you a lot. Two, get tokens or some kind of signifier that points to things. Those stupid arrows from buy the same token, they work so well because it's just like it's this giant arrow that catches your eye every single time. I think it works great. And then lastly, with live streaming, it also helps a lot because my chat will just yell at me and then just call me a cheater. And then, that's not a great feeling. So that helps a lot too.
Yeah. No, I mean I totally agree. I know every example that you're talking about. Like I love when you put like the HUD tokens from buy same tokens on like a
Mhm.
card. It's very funny. And then I love how like it's the same for me too. Like playing on YouTube, I feel like I've really gotten a lot better from like when I first started posting and now
Mm.
because everyone's telling me like the mistakes that I make. It's usually the
Yeah.
first comment. And it's still sad to see, but I like seeing it because it helps me improve for like the
Yeah.
next game. So yeah, it's very helpful having, you guys, the community always keeping me in check. And yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to do with live streams is that I wouldn't make mistakes like after the fact anyways because I hate and this is why I hate doing campaigns so much because I'll mess
Mm,
up on like let's say scenario 2 of the campaign and then no one will comment. I'll like leave for a few days first to see if anyone says anything like I made a mistake or anything, which I didn't see, right? Then no one says anything, and then I'll post like scenario number 3, and then people will be like on scenario number 2, hey, by the way, you made a mistake. Like this game doesn't count. And I'm like, dang it, dude, are you serious? Like, why didn't you tell me before I did scenario number 3? Like, dang it, yeah. So I campaigns are very scary to me because I don't want to like play the first one and then
mhm.
play the second one knowing that the first one already like was like I made a huge mistake that like changed the outcome of the game.
You know what's hilarious too is I'll get comments on videos from like 2 or 3 years ago and be like, "Did you know you made a mistake on turn three?" It's like, I'm sure I did. Like, it's an old video.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of those the rulings might have changed too. And
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you another question here. So it's about like Marvel Champions content creation. And you said this a few times, and it really interests me whenever you talk about this. But why do you think Marvel Champions has so many content creators for how big the game is? I remember you said something that, and I don't know if this is true. This is just going off your words. Like Marvel Champions, I think it's a popular game, but it's like not as popular as like Disney Lorcana or like One Piece TCG or like a lot of the other TCGs, right? But we have so many content creators for this game. Why do you think that is?
Okay, so I think a part of it with the TCG group is a really good comparison because I follow a lot of Pokemon, SWU, and whatever creators, and you're 100% right. They there's like maybe half a dozen of them that are like even just like above 1,000 subs, and then below that there's like very few of any. And I think I think there's a couple of reasons. One is that you could play this game solo, which helps out a ton, right? That you don't need to rely on anyone else to create content and whatever. I think that because you are quote unquote guaranteed to get certain cards in the LCG, that helps too. So it's easier for like to get into deck building videos versus like I'm watching a really good player and it's like, oh, I need to spend $80 to get the deck he's playing, and that's all he's talking about is like this deck. So it's easier to get into the game and get the cards. I will say, besides possibly a part of the Pokemon TCG crowd, generally speaking, I think this community, and even just in board games in general, is one of the better communities for networking and working together. There are so few content creators in this space, if any, that like would purposely put each other down. Like, there's very, very few and limited. So like if you came around and said like, hey, I want to do this podcast with you, yeah, 100%. And a lot of other creators in other spaces will be like, well, what do I get out of it? Like, what are you doing for me in return? And it's just like there's not, I mean, there's competition. Like, I have competition against certain creators. Like, fun fact, you just did Dale the Casual Gamer, and he's somebody that in my head is okay. He is the number one Marvel Champions content creator, right? He's at 15K subs. I gotta beat that, right? Like, I want to beat that. That's my goal overall, to beat that. But at the same time, if Dale said, "Hey, I need this from you because I need yeah, whatever you need, brother. Like, we're here to help each other." So I think that is what kind of sets this community apart. You can even look at the Arkham communities, and they have like their own little silos almost. And it's not that they don't cross over, but it feels like they don't cross over as much as we all do. So I think that's a big part of it. It's just that we're very, very fortunate to have the player group that we do that's, just a strong collaborative community.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I said this on the podcast with Dale too, but I always say people that play Marvel Champions, they're the best human beings on earth, and they usually just have better morals. And I think a lot of that is because of you and Nelson and Dale like leading the charge. I think that's you guys being like the top content creators in the space and then like showing how how open and kind you are and to everyone else too, right? Like Nelson reached out to me like way long back ago, and you're super kind to everyone. You never like blast people or anything like that. Spoiler, I'm gonna try to get you to blast some people later on in this video, but yeah,
That's
like
fine.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and Dale, if you've seen this video, I would highly recommend you collab with the D20 working because he's pretty awesome. Yeah, yeah, I feel like this is a really cool community. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, since there's so many, content creators from Marvel Champions, what is your number one advice to be successful as a Marvel Champions content creator?
Um, Okay, well, first off, if assuming you're not doing it yet, like you're just thinking about it, just do it, right? You can overthink the whole process and that will just ruin everything because you'll be like, I need to have a setup as good as D20s or whatever. Don't, no, you don't. You really don't. You just need to start making content. But let's say you got over that hurdle, right? Let's say you just started and what's next? For me, the number one piece of advice is know your audience, right? Like what does your audience expect from you? And maybe they'll tell you, right? The same thing happened to me where I thought in the very, very beginning, I was just going to be doing playthroughs and that's it. And that was going to bring the audience. And I remember during the live streams or whatever, people made comments like, oh, we really like the part where you talk more in the beginning and just like talk about different things and whatever. And that became the brand. It's not what I wanted to happen or what I thought would happen. It's just what ended up happening. So I think it's important to keep an open mind and try different things within the space, right? So
Yeah.
talk about previews, talk about reviews if you want to, obviously. Talk about card design. You can talk about artwork for all I care. And maybe people will be really into that. But just know what your audience kind of wants from you. That's not to say that you have to pigeonhole yourself into that, but it's a good place to start. And then you'll learn from your audience that it will slowly expand outward. So maybe you talk about card artwork, right? And you go, we're going to tier rank all the artwork because some of it's really bad and some of it's really good, and that could be a really fascinating discussion on every single thing. And then you learn, oh wait, these people also like card layout. I don't know. Well, now you could talk about that as well. So I think a big part of it is just understanding what your audience kind of expects from you, but also what niche isn't being fulfilled that they want to see.
Yeah, I think that is really good advice, and I think a lot of it can apply to like me as well. Whenever I was, first creating content, and I really want to comment on the artwork thing. That is like genius. I would I'm not gonna do it because I don't know enough about like the Marvel comics to do that. But if there's a channel out there that like tells you where each like art from each card is
Mhm.
from and like they rank the art, I would love to follow. Like that sounds very interesting. I would love to see that. So any of you guys that are like, have that knowledge of that, man, like D20, like he just
That'd be
started the
fascinating.
channel. Yeah, that would be so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that is
No.
I don't know if you just came up with that like off the top of the head. Like that is like genius. Yeah.
That's it's so funny too because somebody made a comment about my channel like, how do you come up with so many ideas for videos? Because I post a lot of videos, and literally, it's just like I kind of think about what I would want to see. That's fascinating. So just literally take a Marvel Champions card and look at it, and think about what is on that card that makes it interesting or not. It could be keywords, and you can have keyword discussions, right? It could be the flavor text. I mean, you could have a whole thing because you could have a whole tier ranking of flavor text, which obviously I am Groot would be the top three spots. But you could do different things like that would be interesting. So I think we all get in this habit, and I do too, of just like the only thing you can do is gameplay footage. And that's because that's what was kind of done for the longest time. And it works, obviously. I mean, you can be a successful channel in that. But I think you can look at Villain Theory. Let's take him for example. He does basically no gameplay footage. And he's one of the channels I watch the most because I think he has a lot of knowledge in the deck building process, a lot of knowledge in cards. So it just goes to show that you don't have to just do this one thing. He's in his own lane, and man, he's like competing against almost nobody as far as content creation goes.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I've heard you say this a couple of times, like the niche, like finding what
Mhm.
you're good at and what can separate you from like other creators. And I think for most of, a lot of you guys, it's really just what you guys like the most. Because I've heard Villain Theory say multiple times he loves Tony Tales, and Tony Tales was the guy that got him into, doing content for Marvel Champions. So doing that type of analysis type of video, it's just what he enjoys the most. And I don't know about you. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you enjoy gameplay more or just talking about Marvel Champions more?
Uh, I enjoy probably probably talking about it more. I mean, it's a toss up. The reason being is because if I'm just playing the game off stream, it's really enjoyable and fun. On stream, it's like a little bit. It's still like it doesn't give me anxiety, but still like, oh, like I really want to make sure I don't make mistakes because, like you said, it's a bad feeling overall. Chat will catch you, videos will catch you, all that stuff. So there's more pressure on things versus just talking about the game. It's fun, especially in that group setting of live streaming, because like I could throw out an idea of just like I don't know. Miles Morales is the greatest hero in the game, and here's the reasons why I think so. And people go, "No, that's a terrible logic," and whatever. And I think that banter is kind of fun, and I kind of think
Yeah.
it helps me evolve my opinions. Where I go, "Oh yeah, I never thought about that," or whatever it may be. So, I mean, it's a toss up, but probably talking about the game more.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that I think that would make sense. Yeah, I know on your streams I was watching the Marvel Legendary stream, and then you say it's like almost every stream, but whenever the game starts, you're like, oh guys, everyone's leaving, like everyone's dropping off after like you like stop just talking with the camera and hanging out.
You know what's so funny is I made that joke with novels, and she's just one of her first streams that came out, and she's just like, no, like that doesn't happen. And YouTube, when you live stream, there's literally a chart that shows you the exact concurrent viewer count. So it's like hanging around like 20s, 30s, let's say, whatever it is, and then we start playing just straight
Oh
down.
man.
And she's like, oh my god, it actually happened. I was like, why would I lie to you about this? Why would I lie about bad viewership?
Yeah, that's crazy that it does that. Have you thought about? Because I feel like this would be fun for me to like consume like content from you, just a talking stream. Like just like you have like specific topics that you want to talk about on a specific stream, and it's like we're only gonna try to keep it this, but obviously if it goes outside of it, that's fine. But like no games, just like talking about like I don't know, let's say like Miles Morales of like Marvel Champions and like what like other people think about it, and you can just discuss with them about that. Have you ever thought about doing like just a stream on that?
I have. I have. I think the problem is me because I get off on tangents so often that like somebody will just make some like out of left field comment, be like, you know, um, The Stand is the worst book by Stephen King. And it's just like, oh my God, okay, we need to focus on this next because I have a new problem. So I think the problem is me is I'm too like all over the place and it would never work. But I think you're right, generally speaking, that if I just did a quote unquote just talking stream the whole time, I think it would work and be successful. I think for me, the biggest issue is that I like to post videos constantly and I kind of need that gameplay footage because I know that's what people are searching,
Mm,
especially when they start Marvel Champions. They're not going to go Miles Morales deep thought about why his attack stat should be higher, right? They're not going to search that, but they're probably going to search like Miles Morales versus Marvel Champions. So, okay, I want those keywords in my title and I know that's going to like get newer people in to the community more or less.
gotcha. Yeah, I just came up with an idea for you, and feel free not to do it. But I would love to see this on your channel, just because it's I consume a lot of Marvel Champions content. So I love your red reply videos, and I know that you stopped that for good reason. What if you did a stream where you replied to like red replies, and you can break that up into like video posts? And I know those would be like huge keyword type of things, right? Because I'll be seeing like like a short like 3-minute video where you talk about that, and I'll be like, oh crap, like that's very interesting, and I'll click on that video. But I already watched the stream, I just want to click and see it again. Have you thought about that? Because I would
I
love.
haven't thought about that, but I'll probably steal that idea. That's a
Yeah.
good idea. It's a solid idea.
Yeah, I love your red reply videos, and I know a lot of people love them as well. Yeah, people don't know the reason you stopped was because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like on Reddit, people would make posts, and then in their post they'd be like, "Hi D20, we're working," because obviously it'll make it to the red reply if they're saying hi to you, and that kind of a lot of other people were upset about that, and for to try just like keep the Reddit like a cleaner space, you decided you took the what's it called, the high route, and just went like I'm just gonna stop doing it, and everyone was so upset when you said that. They're like, what,
Oh my
why?
god,
That's
they
like
got so angry at me.
yeah, I was
Uh,
very angry too, to be honest.
no, I get it. I was angry too. I mean, to be completely frank and 100% transparent, Reddit replies like made probably like a quarter of the amount of money on my channel. So like if my channel makes like let's say in a normal month it makes like $400 just so I could do math easier. If it makes $400, it was almost $100 worth of content. I mean, because that's how much people search that stuff. And when I made the decision, it's twofold, kind of with what you're saying was not only when people are doing that, like I people can attack me online all day, it doesn't I don't care, like it doesn't make a difference to me. I grew up on the internet, I've seen worse things, I've been called worse things, so that doesn't bother me. What bothered me the most was my community members being attacked. So like I could see like certain people that they have the same username as my chat and they're just like, why would you do this, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't want to put people in that position because they just want to have a good time, and like they don't know where the line is because no one does, because Reddit just kind of made up all of a sudden that like, hey, we're only going to have Reddit stuff and anything outside of it's bad and evil, even though that's the whole point of Reddit is to bring outside stuff in, but whatever. But I didn't like seeing those people attacked, and once I saw that, I was just like, that's crossing a line. And I don't want to be like the moderator should have done a better job. That's not his job, right? Like it's I think it's me as a community leader, that's my job. But I do like the idea of Reddit reply in the sense people come with their questions. Maybe they're from Reddit, maybe they're not. I don't know. But and then we do it live, and then you're right, cut that up into segments and just post those videos. I think it's a really good idea. So maybe that's how we kind of skirt around this. And it's not Reddit reply. It's like wink wink reply.
It's confirmed, guys. Bird replies are back. D20 is doing it full on again, guys. It is confirmed. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know how anyone can just listen to what you just said and not immediately subscribe because I mean that like that's such a big chunk of like what you make. And I know those videos made a lot of views too. And I know I was very interested in watching those videos too. Like, and you stop that to, prevent bullying for your community. That is, come on, guys. This,
Well,
yeah.
and people always say like what's the most important part about making a channel, and for me, because I really enjoy the live streaming part, right? Live streaming makes less money for those that are interested than the actual YouTube side of things. YouTube makes more money, but your videos and your channel, in my opinion, doesn't really exist without a community, right? If you can't build something community wise, then it's going to fall apart, or you're just like getting really random views and who knows what's happening. So if you're not building that community, you're not going to grow as much. But if you're not there to protect that community, they're not going to be there for you either. So I think it's my job to protect that community as much as humanly possible, because I'm the face, right? They're just trying to hang out and have a good time, and then they're getting blindsided because of D20 hate. Because obviously there's people that don't like my channel out there, which is fine, but I need to kind of protect those people. So
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how anyone can not like your channel, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very interesting. That's actually very interesting to me because I feel like right now I'm in the step of like building a community, and it is like the funnest thing. I love making like community posts and then like seeing what people vote for and seeing what people comment. That's just super duper fun. And I haven't got to the point. I don't think I've gotten to the point where like I'll need to like protect my community, but that's something to always keep in mind because I didn't even think about like that level.
yeah, it's one of the things that you don't think about until it happens. Where I never thought about that until I saw people get attacked on my community on Reddit or on different social media sites, and then I was like, no, 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 like D20 is going to chime in, and I'd rather do it to redirect the hate at me, because like I said, I don't you can hate on me. It doesn't really make a difference to me. So I'm going to redirect it to me. So whatever I have to do to protect that person, I'm going to. But in the end of the day, I mean, I know there's still people that show up on live streams that like will message me privately and be like, "Hey, thanks for that." Like it's just yeah, no problem. Because if I was in their shoes, I'm just trying to watch some guy play a card game. Like I don't want to get sideswiped by something. Like so, I kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
feel where they're coming from.
Yeah, I think one of the best thing that you do is putting yourself in other people's shoes. I didn't even think about like, oh yeah, I'm watching D20 and then like I say that I like him and people are like, oh you suck, why you like D20? I'm like, wait, I'm just trying to watch this guy like that's funny. I
It's
didn't
a
even
card game. Come on, people.
yeah, I didn't think about that. I want to jump back on something you said earlier about like friendly rivalry. And I actually saw I don't know if it was a live stream or a video where you talked about the Dale thing, how you're shooting to, at least get as much subscribers as Dale and like, beat him. So I this was like one of my favorite things back in the day. You and Nelson were like neck and neck, and you often said like you're trying to like, get more subs than Nelson. And then, there are times where like you said that if people unsubscribe from him, it doesn't count. Like they have to keep subscribing to him, but then like you
Yeah.
want even more than that, right? I I don't know if I missed this video. I thought I heard you say something like if you do beat Nelson, which you did like eventually do, you will make a D20 woodworking video. Is that out there
Yes.
somewhere or do you not follow through on that?
I still haven't followed through on it. It's on the list. Okay, there's a very long list of videos that need to be done on the D20 Woodworking channel. And not only now am I getting it from you, I get it from Villain Theory. Because every time I talk to him, he's like, "Hey, I was just searching woodworking videos for whatever reason, and I've noticed yours hasn't shown up." So it's just like
That's funny.
I know it's coming. It's coming. I have to think about something to make. I don't even know what to make. I can't do it now in the winter because the garage is freezing cold. I have to figure out how to get
Excuses.
a setup out there for the light. It will happen. I'm just we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Spring.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long while, but I guess people can be reassured that this D20 woodworking video is coming.
That's why people are unsubscribing from my channel. They're just like, nope, I came for woodworking, not staying for board games.
Yeah, can you I think I've heard you say before, but can you tell us again how your channel name started, like the D20 woodworking name?
So when this whole social media experiment started, 2017ish, I want to say, I was very much into woodworking. I still enjoy it, but I don't have as much time for it anymore because the content creation's kind of taken over. But when I started really early on, I made different things out of wood. So sometimes it shows up on Nelson's channel, which is weird because I don't even promote it on my own channel. But there's like dice holders or token holders, and there's like card holders and stuff like that that I would make different things like that. And I was like, oh, I need to promote this somehow. And Novels has a really big Instagram account, so she's like, well, you should do it on Instagram. I was like, sure, why not? So I did that, and I was like, well, I need a cool name. And I was like, well, something woodworking. Well, the problem is it's not really the board games then. So it's like, okay, card woodworking. No, it's silly. It doesn't make any sense. Like board game woodworker. Well, that kind of gets like, hard to say and whatever. So I was like, D20. I was like, yeah, it's easy. Like you can short it to D20 and that's cool and whatever. There's two problems with that name now. One, in the algorithm, it's absolutely terrible because I get recommended in woodworking stuff all the time when people are just like, I wanted to see woodworking. This has nothing to do with it. But now I can't change it because if D20 woodworking became, I don't know, whatever card gamer or something like that, people are like, who is this guy? Like, it doesn't set me apart. Like, Web Warrior Fanatic, fantastic name because it sets you apart versus just like, web card player or something. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, names are important. And then as you get bigger, you get stuck with that name and you really can't rebrand. If anyone remembers, Nelson has actually rebranded his channel. That's not his original name, for those that don't know. And he did it really well. And I'm really jealous how well he did it.
So I actually get confused. I've heard Nelson talk about it a few times. So I know it's a play on like his name, like Oliver, like all over cards. And then I always get confused because I go to the wrong channel sometimes. It's like Nelson all over and then Nelson all over cards.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about.
No, he had one before that. So his original name was the Living Card Gamer, but he didn't want it to be an issue with Fantasy Flight Games because it's so close to LCG that he's just like, that's not great. So
Gotcha.
he rebranded to Nelson All Over. And I remember him and I were talking, and I was like, oh, okay, all over. Like, I don't really get it. And then somebody in chat made a comment. They're like, oh, I love the play on words. And I'm sitting there just like, what are they talking about? And I'm like saying all over, all over, all over. And then like I realized like Oliver, I was like, oh, it's his name.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, sorry to know, I also did not understand like the all over, like what that meant. I just meant that I saw he was like all over the cards, like
Yeah.
all over the cards. And then it wasn't until like he actually said like it's a play on like his own name that I understood. Oh, okay, okay, Oliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Web Warfare Net, I actually don't like my name either, but I also feel like I'm stuck with it. The thing I don't like is
Yeah.
I don't like the hyphen. I don't know
Mm,
because I don't know how YouTube like algorithm stuff works, but I feel like I know I know each time I Google like a word or something like that, like let's say Spider-Man, it's a hyphen, right?
yeah.
Sometimes I type Spider-Man with the hyphen, sometimes I type it without the hyphen, and sometimes I just type it with a space. So like I feel like
Mm.
I'm like messed up now because someone types Web War Fanatic if they do it with a space or without the hyphen, do I still come up? I have no clue.
You have to do a private browser search. So wait, we'll do this now, right now, live for fun. So if I just do Web Warrior Fanatic without a hyphen, yeah, you come up. You're a top thing, so you're good.
All right, cool. Okay. Yeah, that was my biggest thing. And then a lot of people were telling me that like whenever Magneto came out, they're like, I'm like the magnetic fanatic. And I was like, man, like I like Spider-Man more than Magneto, but I was like, that's a catchy name,
Good
like
name.
magnetic fanatic. It's like the it's like rhyming. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, now, okay, so somebody now has a channel name with Magnetic Fanatic, and two, relate that to artwork somehow. I mean, we're building a channel here basically for people.
Yeah,
So
like that would be, yeah, I am instant subscribed to that. That would be really, really cool. Yeah. Okay, so I still want to get to the questions from channel members, but this would be the spiciest part of the video right here. So I basically wanted to play this little game with you, and I feel like you're like my go-to guy for like anything like Marvel Champions, but like in terms of content creation as well. I feel you're very knowledgeable. I feel like you're very good in like the business aspect of, content creation. So I wanted to see if we could go through some of the top Marvel Champions content creators, and I wanted to hear from you. What do you think that they do the best, and how can they improve their content? Would you be down to do that? Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I apologize to anyone that's not on this list. I just kind of named like the top 10 of like the most subscribers. It's if I miss anyone, I apologize entirely. But yeah, okay. So I want to try to, learn how to be better at content creation as well. And for this to be very valuable to me, and I think a lot of other people would enjoy this as well, hearing from D20 what he thinks about these awesome Marvel Champions content creators. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so the first one, super easy.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Nelson all over. So what do you think is the best thing that Nelson does, or like what his channel is known for? And then what can he do? What would you do if you were him to improve the channel?
All right, so Nelson, well, one, Nelson, I think has the cleanest setup of any channel that's out there. I think visually his looks really good. His audio is really good. He does, as you know, as a content creator, there's a lot of back end problems. I think he does some of the back end stuff like perfectly. And I know he runs into issues too because we talk about it and still like have issues and whatever. But he does that really well. I think also he's very, very good at deck building like on stream. Like I physically can't do that. Like it takes me forever and it's a long process and it's really, really tough. And I think one of the things that makes him really good is like he can kind of deck build through things and do things like on the fly that like I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that card works really well with that. Like he just has that knowledge that's innate, and I think that's really valuable and really good. Okay, so if I was to improve upon his channel, um, the big okay, so Nelson, and this is not only a critique of Nelson, I think it's a critique of a lot of channels, and they have somewhat of a problem doing this. Is that they're a little bit scared sometimes to say slightly negative things. Like they will not say like, "Oh, this hero is just bad" or whatever. And I get it. It's a hard thing to do. It's an uncomfortable thing to do, and the hobby as a whole doesn't really like negativity. So again, I get it. But I feel like sometimes with Nelson, it's kind of funny because I can tell when he doesn't like something and he's really dancing around it. And it's like, bro, you can say it. Say you don't like it. Like say it. And he won't do it. Because if you ever met Nelson in person, I've had the pleasure of doing it. He's just such an incredibly nice human being that like, I don't think he's like capable of saying negative things. But if he could, I think it would help his challenge just being like, hey, this isn't for me. Maybe you like it, but I think this is trash, right? And I just that's what I would do if I was him.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's yeah. I think yeah, we talked a little bit about that, like about like talking and just saying, your opinion on stream. And
Mm.
yeah, I do agree that he has a really good setup. I love his shorts where he does
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah, like he just builds a deck. Like and I don't know if it's like just that quick for the short. Like if he even has to like shoot that a couple of times, or it's just like one take. I feel it's just like these cards combo these cards. For a lot of my decks, it's literally just 8 allies. Like there's no like unique combo, but Nelson always thinks of like unique combos with like these cards and these cards. So I think that's very cool, and it's always cards that I don't even know exist in the game.
And just to expand upon that for a quick second, is his shorts like shorts okay, if you're struggling as a channel with subscriber count, shorts, you need more shorts. You need That's how you're going to grow in subscriber count. In watch hours, long form video format, but making long form videos probably isn't going to grow your channel as fast as you want. You got to do shorts, and I think he is one of the better Marvel Champions content creators at shorts.
Yeah, I will post like disclaimers and stuff there that I'm forcing you to blast these people. But I feel like you
Oh,
did a
that's
good
fine.
job of like not being negative for Nelson. We'll see how the rest of these go. I'm trying to pull something out of you, but it's definitely me forcing D20 to say this. So no, please no hate to D20. Okay, so the next content creator is Villain Theory.
Villain theory, okay, so villain theory has his positive is his negative. So he has insane depth of knowledge about like cards and just like how it work and really gets into the weeds of things. The problem is he talks over my head half the time. Like it needs to be kind of dumbed down sometimes where it's just like, bro, you're talking a little too much, like too high level. Like, and maybe that's his target audience and what he wants to do, but I think he's missing a large swath of people that are just like just getting into deck building. And if you jumped into a villain theory video and you're just starting deck building, you're gonna be really lost. Like it's gonna be really tough to catch up. So I feel like he needs like he's got that upper level stuff. Obviously, I think he's one of the best to do it. But it's that lower section where just like he's missing stuff.
Yeah, that is gold. That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully Villain Theory is seeing this because I feel like that's very good advice for him. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, next YouTuber is Daring Lime.
All right. So Daring Lime has side note, Daring Lime has one of the best videos I've ever seen in my life where he read the entire rule book. Now, that is, I mean, I when I first clicked on, I was like, surely he's not going to read the entire thing. And sure enough, he did. But I think with that, I think what he could have done with that video, what I would have done is chop that up like a ton, because that's like 40 videos worth in there of the headline being the key of like what to search, right? So like he
Oh,
goes over like the retaliate section, but he doesn't like keyword search it, retaliate rules. And that's something that people always wonder about. So yeah, if you made it to like hour 7 or whatever of the video, cool. But it would have been really useful of like having that video split up and like having it be searchable and easier in that sense. Um, so I think that's just one note I would have made about his channel. I'm just like, I would have done that, especially since you did all the work, man. Like it's all there, and you can still do it. Like
yeah, yeah.
theoretically, you could still, if you still have that video, just like re-download it, and then chop it up and do it. So you can still do it. But I also, again, I think he's a really good Marvel Champions player in general. I think he builds out well, and he builds interesting decks. Like he doesn't always do the most streamlined thing. He kind of thinks out of the box on some of his deck builds. So I use as inspiration of just like, oh, like I never really thought about that. And sometimes his stuff just doesn't work, and I go, well, thank goodness I didn't think about that because that was just a mess. But other times it works pretty well, and you're like, okay, cool. So
Cool. Yeah, I know the exact video that you're talking about. That was crazy. I watched through a little bit of it, and then yeah, it
so
was
much.
yeah. Funny thing, I did have a side note about the retaliate thing. So I was watching one of your streams, and you pretty much got Fantasy Flight Games to change their retaliate ruling, where if you flip the stage of a villain and the next stage has retaliate, they won't punch you back because thematically it just doesn't make sense that you defeated them and then there's a still gonna retaliate against you. One of your more recent streams, someone told you that, hey, like you need to take retaliate, and you're like, no, 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 like we're figuring this out, chat. Like we know, like it doesn't. We got ruling change, and they're like, no, 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 it changed again. And I was like, what? And then you were like, what? And you like everything just stopped. You like looked it up, and it was like, and I was like, holy cow, did it really change again? And I think that we didn't get like a conclusive like answer. Is there anything conclusive on that right now? I still I didn't follow up if there's
There's nothing conclusive. So they did re-rule basically that like they made a slight comment, and this is the issue I have with Hall of Heroes is they made a slight comment on something that was basically the same exact wording they've used way in the past. So either one of two things happened. Either they re-changed it to how it used to be, or two, they were just answering quickly. And because they answered so much that old way, and the new way is kind of like really new, that they just forgot, which they've done in the past as well. So I've sent them an email a month ago, so I still haven't heard back. Sometimes you hear right away, sometimes you don't. Like sometimes it does take months, so that's not like me being like, oh, they're avoiding it. They get a lot of questions, so it takes a
yeah.
long time. So, and I haven't checked Hall of Heroes recently to see if anyone else has asked. So I might have to do that too to see if they update on that. But we don't have a conclusive answer yet.
Man, yeah, because that retaliate journey, I know like you've been on a way deep journey, on this as well. But for me personally, I remember I like made a really what I thought was like the cleanest game ever against Venom Goblin Expert, and it was like one of my first games against this villain with Peter Parker Spider-Man, and then like I asked people to like help me find there's any errors because I thought it was really clean. And then people said the only error was I missed the retaliate on the flip. So when I flipped into stage 3, I didn't take the retaliate damage. And I was like, is that even a thing? And then it was. So then I played all my games remembering that. Like, and I would
Mhm.
forget, but I'll be like, I'll go back in the game, like, 2 minutes, 3 minutes after. I'd be like, oh, I've got to take the retaliate. Let me do that. And then you got the ruling changed on me. So now all those games are wrong. And then since then, I've been playing it correctly now where I don't take the retaliate anymore. And I always say, the ruling changed. I don't take retaliate anymore, so I don't take it. And then now it might be back again. I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore.
I One thing I'll say really quick is with that was one of the most exhausting journeys in my life because the thing is I didn't really want it to get changed. Like I just wanted it to make sense. And it didn't make sense in their own rule set. And at first I was like it all started because I did a poll on my channel and I think it was done on Reddit as well. Because maybe I'm just like way out of the loop and everyone else is playing it right. I'm like, okay, if everyone else is playing it right, like we're done here. But nobody was playing it right because it didn't make sense. And then I had more people reach out to me like, this is why it doesn't make sense. And they show examples in the rule book of how it lines up. And once I started putting those pieces together, I was like, well, this is what we need to ask Fancy Flight because if this rule is contradictory, but you're just using basically Caleb's Hall of Heroes ruling is kind of what they were using, but not really. They had their whole system using things like it just didn't make sense. So anyway, that was kind of that journey, and it was just exhausting. And I thought we were done, and we're never done with that journey. Retaliate will be the bane of my existence.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the next content creator that I want you to give, what they do best and how they can improve their content for is Brant from Step Into the Portal.
So Brain's good at live streaming. I mean, he did a whole like charity live stream, if I remember correctly, where it was just like so long. He played all the heroes. Brain has a really depth of knowledge of the game. Obviously, it's really, really strong, really, really good. Brant's quote unquote biggest problem is the same one that some of the so Brand started his channel before mine with a few other ones, which you might get a two on this list, so I won't spoil anything yet. But the way that they did things was basically just do live streams and that's it. And on YouTube, you have to have like normal videos, even if you're cutting your live stream up to put in normal videos. The reason being is because YouTube doesn't push out the old live streams as much unless it was a massive hit. So I remember reading somewhere that a live stream is roughly pushed and you can kind of look at your back end and see like hard for about like maybe a week and that's it versus a normal video is pushed like hard for almost a month. Sometimes it it depends on the days and whatever, but it's roughly about a month. So if he was to grow his channel, like he would have to take his live streams, cut up some portions of it and create long form content out of it, and obviously shorts as well.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest things is that he has good content, he has a depth of knowledge, but because it's just live streams for the most part, a lot of people don't get to see it that should be seeing it.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I didn't know that about the algorithm thing. I always felt that I was missing out with live streams, but okay, cool. Good to hear.
No, it's interesting because like think about it, like do this with anything, right? Search like so and so versus so and so, and even if you use like 80% of the keywords in one of my like live streams from like a month ago, it really won't show up in your search results. Other stuff will. It'll keep getting pushed further and further down because
Yeah.
YouTube wants you on like playlists or whatever, and like live streams really just don't fit that bill. Like YouTube is really weird with live streams. They want it, but they don't because it costs a lot of money, which you can get into a whole nother time. But yeah, it's a big ordeal with that. So.
Guys, this is such a valuable information.
You guys, because I waste my life watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts about all this stuff.
No, this is so good because now you can just give it to us and we don't know how to do all
That's
of
true.
that. Yeah. Okay, the next content creator I have here, he's kind of retired, but I think he'll probably come back in the future. Josh from Get Up and Game.
Josh, okay, so Josh has one of the most phenomenal um, videos ever where he had like a silent video and made it like old school look like it was silent. Like it was creatively like genius. I mean, it was just, I remember watching that and being in awe and be like, bro, this guy, I remember him telling me he has no background in like video production and you're making this? Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's really, really good. And Josh's biggest thing is even before he was retired, you have to post at least once a week. So if you don't post that often, unless you have a massive subscriber count, like you'll kind of get bumped out of the algorithm. So for example, look at your own YouTube feed and pick somebody out and write their name down. Let's say it's D20 Woodworking, and don't watch my videos for like 3 weeks, even when they show up. If that's the
I'm
case,
not
even
sure.
when I come out with a new video, I won't show up. So you have to like then research for me. So that's a big problem is you have to kind of keep you have to
Gotcha.
keep making videos so you keep searching or keep showing up in the algorithm, and then people keep clicking on you and so forth.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, that's gonna be tough for him right now because I know he has he's watching the kids and congratulations to Josh
Yeah,
for kids and hopefully he
I
can
know.
come back. Yeah,
I hope so too. He has some really creative stuff, so I really hope he comes back with that.
one of my favorite videos of his, talking about like the creativity of it. I don't even think this was like on purpose, but do you have you seen his ASMR? It means like
Yes.
whispering. Whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's just because
Yeah.
the kids were like sleeping, and he was like, "I
Yeah.
gotta be quiet," and the whole video was just like him whispering.
Genius.
So funny.
Genius.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very good. Okay, next content creator we have is Steve from Play the Game.
Um, Steve, again, Steve is very, very good at the game. He has kind of the same exact problem where, well, not really. I think originally, if I remember correctly, and I'm sorry, Steve, if I get this wrong, I feel like he live streamed a lot and didn't make videos, but I can't remember if it was him or not. But regardless, he has a wealth of knowledge. He's very good at the game. Like he's very good. I remember he had what was it like the Thor party deck? I think was his deck. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And then you watch him play and you go, oh, okay. Like there's some crazy combos that that guy can do. Like it's nuts. So it's very entertaining to watch. It's very good to watch. His biggest weakness is his thumbnails. If you go through and look at his thumbnails, they're not very clickable. And like I have the same problem too, where a lot of my thumbnails are too generic and I need to make them better. Um, but just think about like if you saw like I don't know Mr. Beast and Steve, right? And you just saw like that image and versus those two, like you're probably going to click on Mr. Beast. And that's a bad example because a lot of people just hate on that guy now. But regardless, like you're going to pick certain images because it just attracts the eye. And that's the one thing I would do to improve his because I think it's very like old school artwork he has, but it's like in a weird 4:3 box. So it doesn't like look quite right all the time. So it's very, very weird. But that's it. That's improve. And the fact that he does it a lot of times in a different language is massive because that just like that's a whole nother audience that like I have no access to.
Yeah. I do want to apologize to there are some channels that I love, like some Spanish channels. Shout outs to Mover Ficha. He's not on the list because I don't know if you know who
I don't
I
watch.
can't watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just yeah, but he's
My
awesome.
Spanish is so bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've clicked on some of Steve's videos before, and he just starts speaking in French. I think it's French, right?
Yeah, I think it's French
I'm
too.
like,
Yeah.
what's going on, dude? I thought this is an English channel. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure that it's great for French Marvel Champions players and Spanish Marvel Champions players. But yeah, I can't personally I just understand what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but speaking on Steve, yeah, I watched his he did like a Quicksilver game. I think it was like over 100 damage or something like that in one turn.
It's nuts.
I think that was like to prove you wrong on the X23 Quicksilver debate thing.
Probably, yeah. That's
Yeah.
nuts.
And then he also did one with Ghost Spider versus Venom Goblin on expert mode. And that was a hero that I didn't think could defeat Venom Goblin at all, like Ghost Spider, or on expert mode at least, just because I didn't feel like she could get enough damage for the burst. I feel like that it was too much of a tempo type of hero, but he did it.
Mm.
And it was a spectacular game. So
That's the other thing too is he is not afraid to take on challenges, which I think is really really good for this space in general. Like it's just somebody will say something, and I know people will be like, "Oh, does that bother you, D20?" When like people are trying to prove you wrong. It's like, no, it's awesome. It creates content. It creates like I think fascinating things and fascinating discussion. So that's really neat. So yeah, so the fact that he could do that stuff, I think is just like it's mind blowingly
yeah,
good.
yeah. All right, the next content creator, he is retired. I don't know if he's coming back. I've said this a few times. I've never seen any of his videos. I don't know who he is because he took off all of his videos off of YouTube before I started playing Marvel Champions, and it's Tony Tales.
So I know a lot of people consider like Dale the Casual Gamer the GOAT, right? And I think there's a fair argument to be made for that. My GOAT is Tony Tails. Tony Tails. He was able to explain the game at a level that I just it was so basic. And I felt like I just knew so much more. Like when I talk about villain theory is like offering like level 300 and 400 classes. I feel like Tony Tails was offering the same thing, but explaining it at a 100 level. Like he was just next level at doing that stuff. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I chatted to him a few times. He was incredibly nice and kind. Like he was always willing to help out the community. Amazing. Just I mean amazing overall. The negatives, I guess, well, he doesn't make content, so that's sad. The content's no longer online, also sad. I get why he did it, but sad. I mean, honestly, the way he probably would have struggled with certain things is he didn't do like shorts or anything like that. His videos, he was very dry, so like sometimes it'd be tough, to, like in the middle part, like if he was just kind of like going through something, it was just like talking like this the whole time. So then, if you're not really paying attention super close, like you're not getting drawn into it. And like that could be kind of like you got to have like those voice inflections. And he didn't always do that because he just was talking about a topic he knew. So like, why would you get like hyped about it? Like, he's just like peons. This is so simple. Why aren't you getting this?
Yeah, no, I mean I can't really comment because I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it looks like or anything. But I know that he or I've heard somewhere that the reason he took his videos offline was because he didn't want to get pulled back into it, and I totally can relate to that. Like if I were to get notification about Marvel Champions, like I'll probably be like, oh, let me check my phone and then like, be away from like actual life of like the priority of what he wants to prioritize.
Yeah, he had just had a kid and he didn't want to have Marvel Champions be a distraction. And that was his argument. It was just like if I see the notifications, I'm gonna want to respond. I'm gonna want to make the video. So he's just like, let's just do a clean break. And I know it upset a lot of people, but like I remember talking to him after the fact about it. He's like, I'm just happier doing it this way. Like he's like, I don't want to worry about Marvel Champions when I want to focus on being a dad. And I was like,
Yeah,
bro, I get it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I want to be a dad very soon. I don't know what I'm gonna do for Marvel Champions, and maybe I'll have to unlist everything too. No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll just tell you right now, create a ton of videos ahead of time. Like just a ton and slow roll them out. Like I know if you post like every other day, let's say like post like every 3 or 4 days, this way it just gives you like a month or two where you can just like chill and not, worry about trying to like, oh my God, is like, do I have to get this video up and whatever, whatever. Just make a ton of content ahead of time.
Dude, man, you got all the like genius advice. Yeah. All
I'm
right.
here for it.
And then speaking of Dale the Casual Gamer, what do you think? What's your favorite thing about Dale, and what do you think that he could improve on?
So Dale's best trait is that it sounds like you're talking to a friend, and it's not something you can teach, right? I can't teach somebody to like be a better presenter. It's he is just who he is, and who he is. It just seems like the most friendly human being in the world. And that comes across as very authentic on video. And especially if you don't even see his face. Like it's just like him hanging out and like we're just gonna play Marvel Champions. And it's just like you're just hanging out with a friend. And you can't teach that, and it's really hard to replicate that. You either have it or you don't, and Dale just has it. So I think that's what makes him so incredibly good. He's very knowledgeable in the game. He plays it very well. Like there's that normal stuff too. Like if you're going to become a bigger content creator, you just got to be good at the game as well, or at least passably good. Um, but I think past that, he's exceptionally good at that. My only critique is like his thumbnails. One, his thumbnails give me a headache because there's just so much going on. Like, especially when he plays expert, there's like expert on it, and then the symbol, and then like his face, and then like the big cards, and then there's like a banner at the bottom, the banner at the top, and like it's a lot for me. Maybe that works for him. Maybe his click through rate is 10% and it's like crushing it. But for me personally, like it's a lot going on. Now, then again, I know right away when I see one of his videos. So if you're looking for his stuff, maybe that's what he was going for there. Um, but yeah, I would say it'd be interesting to see if he comes back doing this stuff. Hopefully he does. If he just continues gameplay content, I would like to see the level at which his videos are watched. I would like to, he would be a good litmus test to see where this community is going as a whole. That are people going to want just gameplay content and will he continue to grow, or will people expect from him like, well, they want his insights, right? They want to know more, because I feel like a big part of the community now, from all of us, is that they want to know, well, why do we think this way, why do we do this way? And if he's not comfortable or doesn't want to make that content, is it going to hurt his channel? Or maybe he wants to do that stuff and he will do it, and then he just like skyrockets. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. One thing I want to add is I feel very welcome in his videos whenever he says welcome beginning.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then for his thumbnails, it's interesting that you said that because I actually thought his thumbnails were like goated, and I have no
Mm,
clue, if my opinion is like correct or not. But I always like because I think he takes like photos of the cards like that he owns,
yeah.
right? So like for my thumbnails, it's like the card that I get from like Hall of Heroes or like Marvel CDB. So like I don't and I wish I could take if I had something like high quality to like take the pictures of
Yeah.
the cards. So I actually really admire them, but it's interesting that you say that. I don't know what's the correct answer on if those thumbnails like attract viewers or not.
What we would need to see is to see like what who's right about this is he would have to open up his back end and just tell us the click through rate. So if his click through rate is like 7 to 8%, then yeah, he's absolutely crushing it because basically click through rate comes down to thumbnail design. So if your click through rate's really high, your thumbnails are crushing it. I am just the type of person that likes simplicity over like a lot going on, and a lot of people don't like that. So I think it does come down to personal choice. But obviously the dude's very successful, so it's not like it's bad.
Awesome. And then the next content creator is Descry Gaming.
He doesn't really do a lot of Marvel Champion stuff anymore, so that's kind of the downside of it. I think he has the same exact problem with brands that all of his stuff is live stream. So he doesn't do a lot of like original videos, so it doesn't get pushed out as much and whatnot. So that's his biggest downside, kind of same as brands. Again, describe if you've ever played with him, he's very knowledgeable in the game. Like he can math out things very quickly. I remember we were playing a game with him, and he's just like, no, no, we have the damage, and we're just like, no, wait, and we're all doing the math. And he's like, I already did it, and we're just like, so still doing it, and we're like, oh no, yeah, you were right like 5 minutes ago. Like I don't know if he's just naturally good at math or he's just good at Marvel Champions math, but like he knew what it was right away. And then that's again something that's really hard to like learn. And I think you learn it as you make more videos that like, okay, like I can kind of get it. But if I'm here, he's like here with that.
Yeah, I've learned so much high level play from
Mm,
from watching
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. And then the last content creator on his list is Webware Fanatic. What can I do? Teach me how to be a better content creator.
I mean, anything at this point. It's just, oh my God, the content's so bad. Um, no, so obviously, what I think what makes your channel stand out more than anything else is obviously your expert play, right? Your expert play is what drew me in. I think it drew a lot of people in. The willingness to go against Ronin, Venom Goblin, whatever else. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. So I think that's absolutely huge. My old critique of you would have been that you need to do more basically talking head videos like this, where you talk about like reviews and card breakdowns and whatever. But you're starting to do that, so now I can't use that anymore. So thanks, that's nice. um, but what I would say is one of the interesting things I think would be cool is I know you do this with other people where you watch their videos and go like, this is what I would have done. I think it'd be cool to do it with yours as well because you know what's going on inside your head where you can say like, okay, this is what happens here, and you explain while you're playing, but it'd be cool to go more in depth of like, I did this because the alternatives of B, C, and D were trash. They're D20 moves. Don't do those moves. Do these good moves here, and explain why. Because we don't always in our heads like we see the really great move that you make, but we see like 10 moves and we go, well, which one's the really great move? And I think it'd be knowledgeable to know like this is why these other moves are subpar, and it's much easier, I think, to do that for your own content. I mean, you do a great job with like when you do it for me or anyone else, but because you know what's going on in your head a lot better, I think that makes it more interesting. And also,
Yeah.
honestly, it gives you more content in the channel, and then thus you can just recycle the same content, which is the secret to content creation. Make one piece of content and try to recycle it as many times as you can, so you don't have to record as much.
Yeah, no, I mean that is really good. I did not even think about that at all. Yeah, I can just do my own video and then like I can critique it and I feel like I can be a lot more negative on it too. I don't have to like I can say things that are like over exaggerations that, could be a joke. But I don't want people to think it's serious about someone else. Like I just feel like that was a sucky move. Like I sucked. What am
Yeah.
I doing?
Yeah. Be like, that was so bad, and this is why. And again, just show the examples of other things you can do, because I feel like that's what a lot of people struggle with, even me too, where it's just like, which one do I pick? Like they all look good, but which one's the best, and why
Yeah.
are the ones worse, I guess.
It's like that's one of my favorite things about Marvel Champions. I love being able to like there's like 10 different routes to just remove three
Yeah.
threat. Yeah. So thank you to all the channel members that asked me and D20 Woodworking questions. I asked you guys to ask whatever question that you want for D20. So I'm gonna go through all the questions from the channel members, and I appreciate y'all's support a lot. Okay, so the first one is from Nar Antlers. I believe he's also a channel member for your channel as well,
Yeah.
and he asks lots of Deadpool questions. He's very funny. He says, why is Deadpool not S tier? His hero kit is so powerful that he can take out Expert 2 Ronin in protection, yet he's still not S tier D20? What's going on? And then all other S tier heroes are S tier because of their hero kit and abilities. I like a deep dive explanation as to why his kit is not objectively S tier power. And he wants to clarify not subjectively, like, how funny he is, but objectively his power ranking. Yeah.
So okay, a couple things. One, I think what makes him weaker. Okay, he is a powerful hero, right? Let's just. It's not like I'm going to say like, oh, he's F tier in power. He's obviously powerful. I don't think he's S tier because his entire kit revolves around two cards of whatever it is. The one that makes you take damage, and then the
Maximum
one that the
effort
card's on
and
fire.
Scar's fire. Yeah.
And this works really well solo Ronin, because solo Ronin, you don't really have to like remove threat if you don't want to. You can just rush him. What would be more interesting is in a hero like, I don't know, Collector 2, where killing him isn't really the main objective, like removing threat. This is Deadpool's biggest weakness, is that his cards, you also have to remove your own life to remove threat. So now it becomes, well, which one do you choose? There's an extra resource cost in all of his cards. And anything that has this makes things a little bit harder. So he doesn't have the ability to do that. Then, because you're going to be dying constantly, you're going to have to constantly flip down, which then adds more threat on sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't with the accelerator token, and depending if you have an upgrade on them or not. And if they kick off the upgrade, that becomes a whole big thing. But now, regardless, that's increasing even faster. So now you need to focus even more on threat removal when you really want to be doing damage with him. So he's obviously, I mean, power wise, he's probably high B, low A, in my opinion. But what makes him weak is that you need basically allies out there to, one, either chump block because you don't want him dying constantly. Like it's not bad if he does now and again, but constantly is not great. And two, to remove threat from other places because that's his biggest weakness. And then now you run into issues with overkill or just like massive amounts of damage or trying to keep them alive, and you're doing that instead of playing your own cards, and that leads to the problem. So that's what I would say. Obviously, still a powerful hero, but he does have weaknesses.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I hopefully Naro Antlers is satisfied
He'll
with that
disagree with
explanation.
me. That's fine.
Yeah, I do want to say I commented on his reply and I said that I think that I've heard D20 say that that you find it boring playing the max effort and discards fire combo? Because I heard you say that
That's
multiple
what it is.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's so boring. It's Doctor Strange level boring.
I personally love it, but I respect that yeah.
Okay, go play it like 30 times in a row, just nonstop. That's what like doing his review just like ruined it for me.
Yeah, it's because when I play them, I like to build out. So I like to
Yeah,
like, and then whenever you build out, the ending is usually very similar. Like with Spider-Man, it's like three
yeah.
swing web kicks. So Deadpool, it's like the this is the maximum effort with discards fire with the symbiote suit. So I feel like most heroes, I
That's
usually
fun.
aim for like that final sequence. But I definitely the game starts and I start doing it, and then it just ends the game. Then I could see it, yeah, being a lot boring. Okay, so next question. Oh, thank you, Nar Analyst, again for the question. Next question is from Evil. He asked for both. What are your three favorite Marvel heroes that are in Marvel Champions?
In Marvel Champions. Um, well, number one is Scarlet Witch, is my favorite hero. It's not Valkyrie, despite what people think. It's Scarlet Witch. Um, who else do I have on that list? I guess it would be Wolverine's up there. I really enjoy Wolverine. And oh my god, I feel like I'm missing number two, which is Domino, right? Domino's up there. Domino's one of my favorites. So um it will switch now and again, but usually Scarlet Witch is always number one, it seems.
Okay. Yeah, for me personally, it is Spider-Man, Magneto, Cyclops. Cable's also up there, but yeah, those are my top three. And he also asked, what are your three favorite heroes that are not yet in Marvel Champions? So heroes that you maybe want to see, I guess.
I mean, number one is Kool Aid Man for sure. I mean, if you can read his comics, they're phenomenal. So Kool Aid Man, number one, um, is up there. I think Howard the Duck would be hilarious. So I think that's up there. I want, I want Venom Eddie Brock, but I think we're gonna get the villain version of him. But I think getting like the hero kind of side of him would be cool too, because I think a lot of people want to play as him. And the Punisher's up there. I think he's really cool. So it'd be cool to see him. I know a lot of people like Daredevil. I don't have no affiliation with Daredevil, so I don't really care. I do want Emma Frost. I do want to play as Mystique. These are all things I want that maybe we'll get one day.
Yeah, I thought from your first two, like Howard the Duck and Kool-Aid Man, I thought you were gonna say the shark from because I see you played on Marvel Rivals.
Yes,
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff the Shark. He is cool. He's not quite at that level yet, but man, he's catching up. He's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you just gonna list like three like funny type of characters in Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it would be Eddie Brock Venom is a big one. I really want to play as him as a hero, and then I really want to play as Black Cat 2 from Spider-Man.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also I'm a huge fan of the Otto Octavius Superior Spider-Man. I don't know if you know that one from the comics,
Sure.
but yeah, I would love to play an Otto Spider-Man version. Yeah.
The
Uh,
biggest thing too is I want like a spider wave. I want another one. I want all the spider stuff constantly, like Silk, Black Cat, all of them. Put them in a box and let's do that.
yeah, yeah. No, I would I mean I'm the web word fanatic. I would love that. Thank you so much to Evil for the question. Okay, the next question is from Nalikar, and he recently or he's getting married soon. So congratulations to
Congratulations.
Nalikar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
He says that me and you, D20, we are his two favorite Marvel Champions content creators.
Let's go.
And he says he's really excited for this. My question to each of you is let me see. He says that I like to do expert, while most of the time D20 likes to do standard. What do you each enjoy about your preferred difficulty mode, and why do you lean towards playing it over the other modes?
So I like to do expert offline. Like sometimes I've done it for the Sunday morning, whatever videos I do now and again. So I like it for that. I like standard because for two reasons. One, it's easier to stream because expert's just so tough that there's a lot going on, generally speaking, so it's easier to stream. But two, I feel like, especially with you, you kind of have the expert niche done. That it's just like I don't want to double up on as much on that. Like I would rather focus on okay, I'll get people in with the standard stuff, and then once they get deep into this stuff, they're gonna go, oh, well, I need better like gameplay, not better gameplay content, but like expert gameplay content. So I'm gonna move over to Web Warriors. So I think again, when we talked way back when about how does this community help each other, that's a part of it, in my opinion, too, is that we have certain. I mean, no, Nelson does a lot of like standard stuff as well. So I think if him and I can help draw more people in, and it opens up the avenues for other content creators that like, hey, they're doing all this other different niche stuff, like and there's certain content creators that do custom content. I think that's a whole niche that like hasn't been explored that much that can be explored a lot more. And if we can get people in that direction, that's good as well. So anyway, that's why I do enjoy expert, but not it's easier to stream and play standard live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I have no clue about the difficulties of, streaming and managing all that stuff. For me personally, I don't have any, like like as good of a, I don't know how to say it, like you have such a nice reason to, support the community. For me, it's complete selfish. Like I just like playing expert more. I feel like it's just more fun. And yeah, that's the only reason I like to play it. Yeah, I love, I don't think I played a standard game in a very long time. I just like expert. Yeah, it's just a lot more fun.
That's fair.
Yeah. Thank you, Nalakar, for the question. And the next question is from Sean. He says his question will be for both of us. Stay starting tomorrow. You are now in charge of the future of Marvel Champions. What are some things or changes you think are needed for this calendar year? And also, what heroes like must be like released? Like what's a must have?
Oof. Okay. So all right. I'm a big marketing guy. I love marketing. I think it's really fascinating. And I think they've done a better job with marketing, but there's still room to improve. There's always room to improve on everything. There's room to improve on my channel. So I think for them on the marketing side of things, like more transparency is inherently a good thing. So I think it'd be cool if like they set up a calendar of like when the next big announcements are going to be. Right. Yes, that selfish reason helps content creators, but it also gets people hyped that like, okay, next week they're coming out. What do we think it is? Right. And Reddit's going to explode, which is like next week is the time. So what do we all think it's going to be? Like that type of stuff is just going to help your own company. So things of that nature, I would change immediately. I think they do a really good job of the preview articles. So any way to stretch that out, obviously do that. So that's all good. As far as design direction, um, or hero direction. I mean, obviously, everyone. I understand why they're holding off on Daredevil because it's like their last big moneymaker. I mean, let's be frank about this. But and they want people to buy in between. I think you're still going to have to do it within the next year or so because I think people will just get like tired of waiting at some point, and they'll just like, why bother? And I think it'll be interesting to see after the X Men wave how sales go. We won't really know unless Embracer, the holding company, mentions it. But after X Men, obviously they did really well. Will the sales continue to be decent for Shield? It doesn't have to be as high, but will it continue to be elevated compared to where it was beforehand? If so, that's more of a reason to do Daredevil sooner rather than later. Because if they sell it now and it's really high, then hopefully that high watermark stays up there. So transparency, you have to get Daredevil out there. The whole street cycle or whatever it's called, you have to get out there with like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and all that stuff. I think you have to get out there. Punisher, I think you have to get out there. And then after that, Nelson talked about this with me. I think what you do is you do like Spider-Man, Peter Parker 2099 or whatever, right? So all the quote unquote issues people have with Spider-Man or Hulk, do a Red Hulk, let's say, fix it with like another version of it or just like another what is it, the metaverse or whatever,
Yeah.
metaverse, whatever it's called, another version of the same character, right? And then just repackage it and sell it. I know that will hurt sales of old stuff, but if they're going to stop printing it anyway eventually, like might as well resell Captain America that's slightly different to us, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would love multiverse, characters and some
Multiverse, yeah,
Spider-Verse
thank
stuff
you.
too. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting that you said the thing about the schedule. I had not even thought about that. I would love that so much as a content creator to know like, hey, on Thursday of like this week, we're gonna drop something. You don't know what it is
Yeah,
yet, but we're gonna drop
I'm
something.
not gonna
And
say what it is, but yeah, yep.
yeah, that would build so much hype. That's a really good idea that I have not heard before, but I feel that's really good. For me personally, I don't really have good advice for FFG. I don't really know what I'm doing or anything, but I would like a new hero pack every month. I think that'd be cool. If they could somehow do that, like 12, maybe like a box and then like a few heroes to where like they'll have to do more work, obviously. So I don't know if it's possible, but if we get one thing a month, like one Marvel Champions product a month, that'd be really cool. It's just like always have a hype because right now it's kind of a slower season after Magneto was released and we're waiting for Agent of Shield. So there's like two or three heroes that came out, in between that time. That would be really cool. And then for what heroes is a must-have, I mean, if I work for FFG, I'll be super selfish. I'd be like, guys, we need Eddie Brock right now. That's the next hero. And I'd be like, then we need Black Cat. Then we need the Superior Spider-Man. I just like, I like this hero. We're putting them out right now. So yeah, I I'm not the biggest Daredevil fan either. So I probably just be like, whenever people, I don't know, you guys can make whenever you want. We're gonna do these three first. And then, yeah, thank you so much, Sean, for the question. And then for the final question, and I do want to thank D20 because, guys, he said he has a hard cutoff. He has a work meeting in like 6 minutes. So we're really cutting it down to the last thing. Thank you, D20,
That's
for
all good.
staying here for us. The last question is shouts to Mitch. He asked for both of us, what would you like to see from each aspect in 2025? And what new archetypes would you like to see from them? Yeah, so just, and then what gaps do current archetypes have that new aspect cards could fill? So it's pretty much like, what would you like to see from different aspects?
Um, I think, well, right now, nothing from protection because I think protection kind of does everything. And this is my biggest worry with this stuff is that will every aspect eventually just be able to do all the things? Like, will aggression be able to just thwart really, really well? Because, like, how much can you really expand upon it? So that's my biggest worry with that is that I don't want too much of filling in the gaps because then what's the difference of playing? It's just a color at that point. So that's a worry for me. Um, as far as what's kind of missing, I feel like there's certain traits, obviously like gamma and whatnot, that maybe can fill in with aspects. I don't know if it can, but maybe it can. Um, I think they were so scared of doing anything different with leadership that they haven't really done much with it. Obviously, sidekick was big and a lot of fun and cool, but past that, like it's basically been like ally swarm builds, and that's it. And they haven't really figured out what to do. It started off so strong and it's slowly gone downhill. And I feel like the same with justice, right? Justice to me was the next aspect they really pushed, and they haven't really done anything new with it. So what would I do new? I don't know. Like I mean, that's the $1 million question, I think, to be honest, because I don't know what it'd be missing if it just needs a refresh or a new way to do things. Maybe that's how they approach it, or just interesting ally mechanics. I noticed that recently a lot of their allies are more expensive than the old allies. So I think they're trying to fix issues, but they're not always more powerful. So like Spider-Man Miles Morales Basic, I'm still running because it's just like a strong card. So why wouldn't you? And a lot of the new allies don't really fill that in. So um, yeah, I'm trying to think because the biggest complaint for the longest time was aerial, that we always wanted more aerial stuff. And I feel like we have a good amount of aerial. I'd like to see more prep cards for Black Widow. I think you could do stuff there. I know we're going to get this anyway, but Shield, other aspect cards with Shield, because it feels like Shield Justice is all we do. It'd be cool to see different things with that. Um, and then what is it? Space Knights. We haven't touched Space Knights on Venom.
I don't know what the Space Knights
You know,
are.
yeah, I have no idea either, but I'm sure there's a design space in there somewhere that they could do something with. So, and Asgard. I feel like we haven't done a lot with Asgard in a while. So Asgard would be really cool to kind of flesh out more.
Yeah, and have Valkyrie have some more toys to play with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just make her more powerful. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, for my answer, I would agree with you that I kind of prefer the aspects to kind of stay in their lane. So like I don't want them to necessarily fill in any gaps. I want them to only be good at what, their color is. So I actually don't want anything else for like protection or leadership. I kind of want them to just stay there, especially
Yeah,
leadership. And then for justice, I think player designs are really cool. Maybe more stuff that works out with side schemes only for justice. I kind of wish that build support and
yeah,
like those really good basic side schemes were only for justice. And then
yeah.
yeah, for aggression, that's the number one thing that you guys have probably heard me talk about this on channel before, but I would love to see player minions. They kind of did that in
Mm,
with your card Face the Past. But for only aggression, you could like put like a punching bag or like a training robot, like, and then you can pay a cost to play that minion from your hand, and then you can like defeat the minion maybe as guard or something like that. So it's kind of like a side mission, but instead of a side scheme, it's like a minion, so that you can trigger stuff for Thor or Valkyrie. So yeah,
I think also with aggression, the one thing you could do too is have cards that deal damage to yourself to deal damage outward. I think that's the one design space they haven't really touched on with aggression yet,
yeah.
which could be interesting. I mean, I know they've done it with like Deadpool and whatever, but that type of mechanic obviously can't be as effective as his. But I think that's a space they could go into.
That would be really cool. Thank you so much to all my channel members for asking the questions. Thank you so much, D20, for your time. I know that we're 2 minutes and you got to do your work meeting. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for the
Oh,
last
anytime.
minute.
So much time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having you on. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna post your links to all descriptions and everything.
Yeah, dude. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on, dude. I really appreciate it, and thank you for inviting me. It's truly an honor,
Of
and
course.
I wish the best of luck to you to continue your journey. I'm sure you'll do great things. And anyone else, big advice: if you want to create content, just go make content. You will figure it out eventually, but you just got to start.
That is golden advice right there.